protests that questioned the validity of an extradition bill proposed by China and also opposed the hegemony Communist China on independent Hong Kong. Last year, on the 9th of June, more than 1 million people took to the streets of Hong Kong opposing the extradition bill drafted by China. And today, the same protesters are facing brutal police force and restrictions due to the coronavirus pandemic as they oppose China's new national security law. Protests in Hong Kong have also taken inspiration from protests in the United States of America over the brutal killing of George Floyd. While some demonstrators called for the independence of Hong Kong, rest of the gathering held up placards which read, "We can't breathe, free Hong Kong," and sang the country's national anthem, "Glory to Hong Kong."
Okay, we're not afraid.
In 2019, the pro-democracy protests that had rocked Hong Kong was met with brutal police force. The city's police troops shelled tear gas, fired water cannons, and also beat up protesters who spoke up against China. But the protests continued to grow, and human rights activists fearing Chinese hegemony were also successful in creating a pro-democracy movement, which eventually forced Carrie Lam to withdraw the extradition bill. Hong Kong's leader Carrie Lam delayed the introduction of the bill, but anti-China demonstrations continued to create chaos in Hong Kong. Despite the withdrawal of the bill, protesters called for an investigation into police brutality and have also demanded a complete end to Beijing's effort to undermine human rights in Hong Kong. A few months ago, the protests, which were stopped due to coronavirus pandemic and the lockdown, has once again erupted with Beijing's new move to impose national security legislation on Hong Kong. The legislation aims to tackle the alleged secession, terrorism and foreign interference in Hong Kong. Though the details of the law largely remains unclear, democracy activists fear legislation could erode the city's freedom.